You'd think a purchase price would be a very straightforward number. The reality is it's far from it in middle market transactions. Most people think about real estate when they think about a purchase price or selling a business. And in real estate, you get all of your cash up front. You close and you have nothing to do with the buyer ever again. But in a middle market business, that is rarely the case. In most transactions, there is a significant portion of the purchase price that comes from non-cash consideration. I would say on average, most of the time, 60 to 70% of the purchase price is in cash, and the remainder is other types of consideration or forms of payment. Because of that, there is the opportunity for there to be some subjectivity of what it's worth. Cash is easy to know and compare. $5 is worth $5. But what about a seller note? What about an earnout? All of those other things can easily be portrayed as a certain value, but objectively could have a very different value. And what you often find is that most buyers will portray their offer with a big headline number, but the real value, once you peel back the onion, may be completely different. So let's dive in real quickly into some of the different forms of payment that a buyer will typically use in a transaction. The first element that is frequent in middle market transactions is an earnout. An earnout is a contingent payment that's received upon the performance of some metric, whether hitting some type of profitability level in the future, or whether it's keeping a customer, whatever it might be, it only gets paid out if that factor successfully occurred. Now, the reason why this is hard to truly value is two things. One, that money is not being provided up front. And there's a time value of money, meaning if you had that money up front, you could have invested it successfully in a variety of other investments and got a return on it. But secondly, is that there is a spectrum of achievability of the earnout. So for example, if the requirement is for you to keep your performance the same as last year, that's going to be highly likely that you're going to achieve it. On the other hand, if you need to double the sales of the business, there's going to be a much lower likelihood that you'll be successful. The second form of payment that you often find is seller financing. Seller financing means that you essentially are loaning the buyer the money to pay a portion of the purchase price. They're deferring the payment to you. Now, most of the time, they'll have an interest rate and other terms. And so the operative question is, how does a seller note compare to what a market rate loan would look like? It could be the same, and then the amount of value is truly equal. But most of the time what we find is that seller notes are priced materially below what a bank loan would be. If it was the same terms, they just would have gotten the money from the bank to begin with. The third form of consideration that is pretty common, particularly in private equity transactions, is equity that you would retain in the business. Essentially, whether they purchase you in an asset transaction or a stock purchase, you are keeping a portion of the business going forward. Unfortunately, this is very easy for them to assign subjectively a high valuation for something that may not be the case. There are a variety of different factors that you really need to look into to make sure that the value of the equity truly is what you think it is. First and foremost, I would focus on, is the equity going to be exactly the same and treated the same as the buyers? Or does the buyer have a preference or other priority vis-a-vis you? The other factors that I would look at is that they are portraying the value at its current value, not assuming some type of price appreciation based upon various favorable assumptions going forward in the future. At the end of the day, most people talk about the headline valuation number, but the reality is that that number is often misleading because of the details. The devil really is in the details. 3 different buyers can provide the same offer, at least in terms of the top line number, but they can have dramatically different values in terms of the true value and proceeds that you're going to receive. Therefore, it's extremely important to look at the offer in detail and to look at each of the different components and figure out what the true value is.